particle wave amplification. The concept of this intrigues me. I'm going to think about some ideas and share them with you. And as I think about them, they may evolve or they may die in their position. Some of the things I say are going to be completely inaccurate because I'm conceptualizing a process. Some of them may be accurate without my knowledge. Again, this is conceptual, so I'm not here to state facts. I'm here to think of a concept. So, particle wave amplification is centered around the idea of moving a particle and being able to enhance the motion of that particle through increased amplitude of the energy waves that are moving the particle along. Now I've been thinking about utilizing energy keys similar to sound waves. Sound waves here on Earth have the ability to be resonant. The key of E is the key of E. Key of G is the key of G. And if we can catch those sub waves, which are much slower, and catch them on higher frequency waves and harmonize with them, we may be able to boost the high frequency wave above its energy set that it's in. Being able to boost that energy wave is critical to being able to get the mass to move at a higher energetic state than it currently is. And I want to conceptualize this idea with frequency modulation, harmonic resonance, and the idea of focused energy. Focusing energy, I want to use as my first example, since I've gone over the others in prior videos. Focusing energy in the way that is passive. For instance, using a magnifying lens to intensify photons to a focal point, where that focal point creates enough energy to ignite substances on fire, or ignition, build up to their ignition point and cause them to spontaneously combust. That is passively amplifying the energy source by utilizing a focal lens for photons. The substance that the photons are encountering, its energetic state increases to the point where combustion occurs and the materials spontaneously ignite and a chemical reaction happens, and with the occurrence of extra energy and heat, harmonic resonance is the ability for a subset of energy to harmonize with a higher set of energy at the same rough frequency, or in the case of sound waves, in, for instance, keys or notes as we perceive them. This is harmonic resonance. And harmonic resonance can get something that's not moving to move. So between passive amplification or passive concentration of energy forms and active amplification through harmonic resonance, we have the ability to start moving a particle and energizing that particle faster, especially if we take a particle that would normally harmonize with those two frequencies because of its energy state. Now, I'm not saying that a particle is in the key of E, and I'm not saying that a particle is always able to interact with photons. I'm not saying either of those two things. What I'm attempting to express is the conceptual idea that there is a frequency of a particle. We can match the frequency of the particle with an energy wave. We can capture an energy wave or time an energy wave that's already been maintained inside the universe. We can ride its wave higher. We can energize that level by putting in passive energy and focusing it, and then we can catch on to the harmony or the harmonic resonance of that energy particle with that wave and that energy. If we can synchronize those things, we may be able to increase the velocity at which the particle in question, the particle that we're using as our demonstration particle, we can increase its energy and it can jump into a higher energy state, in which case the energy state, it would excite the particle even higher, and it would no longer be in its prior energy state, but it'd be in a new energy state of a higher frequency just from harmonic resonance and passive accumulation of energy capture. These are thinking processes that I'm interested in, and it would be very, very fascinating to find timing available or instrumentation that would be able to time these events to coordinate them in such a way that they could be effective. This is conceptual, and I do not expect anyone to come up with a spontaneous answer. Yet, we have the ability to think about it, contemplate it, and put our ideas out there, and maybe somebody far smarter than myself, maybe somebody far smarter than yourself, maybe somebody far smarter than the combination of the two of us combined can bring forth an idea, or we can compile other people's ideas into a more streamlined thought process. The contemplation on this has to do with synergistic effect. The energy leaving a body is higher than the input of the energies put into it, thus synergy. This is an extremely rare occurrence as far as I can tell in the universe. Synergistic effect is nearly impossible, but because we've identified it, it is not impossible. The concept of it is fascinating. For instance, there's an element out there, and I'm going to remember it. Selenium is synergistic when in the presence of photons. And that is really hard to discuss because people want to say that breaks the laws of thermodynamics. And it does not, but because you can't break the laws of thermodynamics. You cannot get more energy out of a system than you can put into the system. There's always losses in translation. What they're trying to say is that synergistic effect is an output greater than the sum of the inputs. So the reaction is exponential at some level. There's TNT is a good example. There's more output than there is from the base constituent components individually. When you combine the components together, you have an explosive effect, which is greater than the sum of the total of the parts. Life has the same similar effect. Life keeps creating more mass and energy. It's recombining more. It's not creating anything. Sorry. Creation is a completely different matter. Life reorganizes mass and then makes an exponential function about growth. So from one single-celled organism, you can get 8 billion single-celled organisms over time. This is greater than the sum total of the base units that were there originally. The output is greater than that, but only in replication of the system. So it's not breaking the laws of thermodynamics by saying it's outputting more energy than exists in the system. What it's saying is that it's putting out more energy in recombination of what would have normally occurred, which is a different thing than creating energy. Creating energy is not inside of the known systems of humanity or any object in the universe. We do not believe, from the scientific standpoint, that there are any gains or losses in the universe as we can identify them. In other words, the universe in its whole totalness doesn't have a hole leaking energy and mass out, and it doesn't have a hole drawing energy and mass in. It's neither gaining energy nor losing energy. It's constant as far as we can tell in our version of perception, which is limited to our ability to perceive and conceptualize the universe around us. What we're talking about doing is reformulating mass and capturing or riding the wave like a surfer on the water, riding the energy wave, pushing more mass along, and then capturing other energy sources or riding other energy sources. They're subsets of the energy source that we're riding. In other words, multiplying the effects. I'm not talking about creating energy. I'm talking about being able to utilize energy that's currently here and reduce our amount of energy inputs to move a particle forward. So we're not talking about trying to break the laws of thermodynamics. That would be somebody else's conceptual idea. I'm talking about utilizing and flowing with the energy, reorganizing the way energy moves, and then timing the energy so that way we can move a particle beyond its current state of motion into a state of motion that's higher, energizing it without destroying it, without breaking the particle, and getting it to vibrate at a higher frequency without it losing its energy or mass, and then while moving it through time and space. It's an interesting concept, and I'd like to hear more people's thoughts on it. Have a great day.